Hey, Andrew, what type of ideas are you having?
Batshit crazy ideas.
Yes, it's true. Andrew Marr's having batshit crazy ideas, and he's having ideas that the Great Reset, the Great Reset, launched by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, is actually a conspiracy theory.
There is the Great Reset, which is a paranoid theory about the World Economic Forum and various generally Jewish cabals at the top of a global government trying to impose world government on the rest of us and wipe out billions of people while they do so.
Yes, this clip of Andrew Marr comes from The Rise of Conspiracy Theories, which is on The New Statesman.
According to a poll, some 32% of people believe that the Great Replacement theory is true, and similar numbers for the Great Reset theory and other fantasies of a globalized world government, either fascist or Stalinist or corporatist, depending on your prejudice.
It's not like COVID-19. The Great Reset was written by, Klaus Schwab. Oh, yeah, it was. At least it doesn't mention globalization at all. Oh, globalization. Well, what about globalization, 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 globalization.
Our existing fragmented global architecture is not fit anymore for purpose in the 21st century. It's high time for a great reset.
These are, forgive my language, batshit crazy ideas.
Globalization, 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 globalization. Oh, they've stopped talking about it.
Batshit crazy.
Hyper-globalization, globalization, globalization, global governance. Globalization leads to global governance, people. Tell Andrew Marr that.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with not good news. The world is a system. It's a system composed by nation states. It's an interdependent, interconnected system. The question is not more or less globalization. We all share a common future. But this global system is in danger of spinning out of control.
And these people do care about control. What Andrew Marr is doing is extremely disingenuous because he's meant to be a historian, and any historian worth its weight would have looked at what he's saying there and would have discovered that, well, a new world order elite that you're trying to frame this as, who have put World Economic Forum and globalism into action so that they can take over the world. I'm afraid that in 1950, 1951, the first years of Kissinger's International Seminar was run, which was to train young global leaders. And 15 years after the start of that, well, Klaus Schwab attended it, didn't he? He went to Kissinger's International Seminar in 1965 till 1967, when in 1967 it got outed as a CIA-funded program, funded by through free CIA conduits, at least, which was the Farfield Foundation, the Asian Foundation, and American Friends in the Middle East, which was headed by Kermit Roosevelt Jr., grandson of Theodore Roosevelt. What you've got then is Klaus Schwab being given two mentors by Henry Kissinger himself, John Kenneth Galbraith, one of the most important people in history, who Marr could write 3 books about John Kenneth Galbraith and he wouldn't even touch the surface, because actually Marr's books aren't very good. And Herman Kahn, the real Dr. Strangelove. That's worth a story. That's worth knowing about, knowing that the mentors given to sent back by Kissinger from Kissinger's International Seminar, all CFR members, all members of the Council on Foreign Relations, were sent back during a time where they were designing a new future, where they were looking at what the future technologies were going to bring. And Herman Kahn was writing things like the year 2000 and State Department documents about training leadership groups outside normal society, which is exactly what Kissinger's International Seminar was meant to do. And when it got outed, they had to find another way to do it. Later on, Kissinger's sent John Kenneth Galbraith and Herman Kahn to help Klaus Schwab set up the World Economic Forum, which first runs in 1971, where John Kenneth Galbraith is keynote speaker alongside Otto von Habsburg, and of course Herman Kahn's there central as well to bring in the voters. 2 years later, of course, the Club of Rome get involved with their Malthusian idea and make the speech where the enemy of humanity is humans themselves, is man itself. The enemy of man is humans themselves, and how they need to reduce population. So that is very obvious. Even Herman Kahn rejected that theory. Do you want to check that out historically? Marr? Or do you just want to say that there's no global elite force that are all connected to the CFR and Kissinger and other people who put Schwab and the World Economic Forum into action with CIA-funded money? No, nothing like that happened, even though that it's all documented throughout history. So the theory that you're saying is actually a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory, is it? It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy, Marr. You need to learn the difference between conspiracy and conspiracy theory, because you don't know the difference. I don't think you're a very good journalist if you can't go and check history. You've written books on history. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
The world is in transformation from a unipolar to a multipolar world, from a uniconceptual to a multiconceptual world, which makes our global system much more fragile. There are many more actors. And finally, a stress factor for our global system is a new wave of populism. People do not want to be left behind anymore. Globalization 3.0 has lifted 100 million of people out of poverty, but there were winners and losers. Today, we cannot justify globalization anymore by the fact that there are more winners and losers. Those who have been left behind want to have social justice. Now, if we look at each of the subsystems of the global systems, they are all out of balance. Just look at the economic system. We know we come out very well of a crisis, but with still a tremendous debt load. And as Mrs. Christine Lagarde has said, global growth is slowing down, but global risks are increasing.
Globalization is sort of rebooting itself in all sorts of ways to try to take into account the geopolitics of today. I'm Robin Niblett. I was director of Chatham House for 15 years through to summer of 22. And now I'm a distinguished fellow with Chatham House, CSIS and Asia Society, and I do a bit of advisory work on the side.
Well, Robin Niblett thinks that he's a distinguished fellow at Chatham House. Well, in actual fact, Andrew Marr will tell you he's a conspiracy theorist pushing globalization. So let's go back and listen to what Andrew Marr said again, and let's see if we can work through it.
There is the Great Reset, which is a paranoid theory about the World Economic Forum and various generally Jewish cabals at the top of a global government trying to impose world government on the rest of us and wipe out billions of people while they do so.
So the supposed Jewish cabal bit, well, the World Economic Forum wasn't put in power by a Jewish cabal. Yes, Kissinger was heavily behind it, and his mother actually worked as a kosher housemaid for one of the founders of Israel, Nahum Goldman, in his house when Kissinger was young. And yes, the Guido Goldman, who was Kissinger's best friend, would set up the German Marshall Fund, and when Kissinger's international seminar was shut down, the person who was essentially running it for Kissinger, Abby Collins, was moved over to the GMF, where she had a place in running the new training courses for young global leaders at Harvard. Yes, that's true that Kissinger himself was Jewish, but the people who put it forward were nearly all American. So there was, of course, the Rockefellers were behind part of the magazine for Kissinger's international seminar and Confluence. John Kenneth Galbraith, who I mentioned, is not Jewish. And Herman Kahn, though raised Jewish, was a very famous futurist atheist. There is no sign of anybody saying here that is a Jewish cabal behind it. No. quite the opposite. This is a globalist, American and British-centric power base, one that Andrew Marr is fully aligned with.
According to a poll, some 32% of people believe that the Great Replacement theory is true, and similar numbers for the Great Reset theory.
As you see, Andrew Marr quotes a survey. He says just a survey. He doesn't say where it's from. It's from King's College London, the Policy Institute, which is heavily linked with government and is not free of bias. He also tries to conflate the Great Replacement theory with the Great Reset, and he starts calling the Great Reset the Great Reset theory, even though, as you see within this survey, they don't do that. The question they ask about the Great Replacement is the Great Replacement theory, the idea that white Americans and Europeans are being replaced by non-white immigrants, is happening. That's a weird way to frame it, but still, is it happening? Well, that is based upon a passage in a document by Kalergi years ago, and is very complicated, but lots of people believe it's true, and some people don't believe it's true, some people do believe it's true. The Great Reset is actually something else. It's not a theory, it's something that's happened. He keeps calling it a theory. The Great Reset, announced by the World Economic Forum during the COVID-19 pandemic, is a conspiracy to impose totalitarian world government. Well, that's very carefully worded, isn't it? Because it's not the Great Reset that is the conspiracy to impose a totalitarian world government. It's the World Economic Forum is the conspiracy to impose a totalitarian government. The Great Reset is just a function of the actual conspiracy. So it's very carefully worded, so that even I would say, yes, that is not true.
And other fantasies of a globalized world government, either fascist or Stalinist or corporatist, depending on your prejudice.
Well, we know what the global governance that Klaus Schwab is pushing looks like because he created the entire version of capitalism that goes with it, stakeholder capitalism. So we know that. And yeah, you are quite right. There's a little bit of fascism and a little bit of communism and a little bit of capitalism, all in stakeholder capitalism. It's end stage capitalism. That's what we're looking at. And that's Klaus Schwab's own theory that he's putting forward. It looks like a little bit of all of the things you say.
We have an incredible opportunity to create entirely new sustainable industries, investing in nature as the true engine of our economy.
The current global crisis has disrupted every aspect of our lives, but it has also presented us with an extraordinary opportunity, a chance to reset and accelerate efforts to improve the state of our world.
Changing our current trajectory will require bold and imaginative action, together with determination and decisive leadership. In order to secure our future and to prosper, we need to evolve our economic model, putting people and planet at the heart of global value creation. If there is one critical lesson we have to learn from this crisis, we need to put nature at the heart of how we operate. We are on the verge of catalytic breakthroughs that will alter our view of what is possible and profitable within the framework of a sustainable future. We need nothing short of a paradigm shift, one that inspires action at revolutionary levels and pace. We simply cannot waste any more time. The only limit is our willingness to act. And the time to act is now.
These are, forgive my language, batshit crazy ideas